Hey guys, my name is Jason Withington, and welcome to another episode of Lessons from a Life in Magic. Each week I share just tips, some tricks, some hacks, some techniques that I've picked up over the years of being a professional entertainer. For a little over 22 years, I've been entertaining audiences around the world, and this is a new thing that I'm doing each week, just sharing some of the lessons that I've learned with the next generation of magicians and performers that are interested in maybe getting into the business and entertaining people. It's a great, wonderful way to spend your life, bringing people out of the normal moment that they're in, bringing them into a new experience and giving them something that potentially can last for the rest of their life. So I'm glad you guys are here. Excited for you to be watching this. This week we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects. Let me bring this up real quick. I created a little slide presentation. So I'm going to share that right now. I'm going to go ahead and stop. Let's do this. Let's see if I can find it here. Aha, there it is. Technology. So hopefully you guys can see this. Lessons from a Life of Magic. Like I said, just really about becoming an amazing performer, because that's really what this is all about. Just started a website called theversatileperformer.com. If you guys go over there, there's an email sign-up form. I would love to get your email. I'll send you one of my favorite effects that's been with me for about 20 years. And it's a really cool cigarette through quarter, or pin through quarter is the way that I prefer to do it. But really cool effect. So check it out. You can also leave me a question over on the contact page. There's a form there. You can fill that out, or as always, you can just send us an email right through there. So this is something new that we're doing, and this is the third one. So this is our Hangouts on Air every single week. This is our third one, and this week is all about tips for learning sleight of hand. Here's the deal. Sleight of hand artist, the great sleight of hand artist. When we think of sleight of hand artists, especially as magicians, we think of the great Dave Vernon, or Di Vernon, depending upon which coast you're from. Di was considered the professor, revolutionized close-up magic for us. If you're a manipulator, you might think of somebody like Jeff McBride, who's the modern master of manipulation, or Cardini, who was a little bit before him. Now, Cardini, a fascinating story of being in the trenches, having to wear gloves during the Great World War. He was fighting and in the trenches there, and that's where he developed his unique approach to sleight of hand and to card magic and to manipulation. And Di Vernon, of course, was fascinated with gambling techniques and wanted to learn everything that there was about being a gambler. And he brought that feel to his magic, and in turn revolutionized, like I said, close-up magic. Our modern performers are guys like Eric Jones and Aaron Fisher. These guys are revolutionizing close-up magic. They're teaching close-up magic. They're amazing, not only friends of mine, but they're just amazing thinkers and amazing performers. And when you really start looking at sleight of hand, it can come from all over. One of the greatest sleight of hand artists, Albert Goshman, was the baker faker. He was started out as a baker and learned sleight of hand. Larry Jennings, another great card man, student of Di Vernon, ended up becoming a contemporary of Vernon's, was a plumber by trade. So no matter what you're doing now, no matter what you've done in the past, you can become a great sleight of hand artist. What makes these guys different? Is there anything? I just said you can become a great sleight of hand artist, and I really do believe that. I don't think um, there's anything special about any of us that have performed sleight of hand that have achieved a certain level of mastery. Now, you might think that you need natural talent. You might also think that it's a learned skill and that these guys are just way more disciplined than you might be. Maybe it's that they have diligent practice and rehearsal sessions and they're doing it constantly. Um, Maybe that they understand intention, focus, and relaxation. It's something that not only myself, but Eric Jones and also Aaron Fisher, we all talk about when we're teaching our students these three ideas. I really started learning a lot about these three ideas in my conversations with Armando Lucero. We got to work together for a couple of years down in the Dominican Republic with Corio Sadaris, and really cherished my experiences sitting and chatting with him about sleight of hand. So intention, focus, and relaxation are all of these things? Yes. Every single one of those concepts goes into becoming a great sleight of hand artist. And I firmly believe that there may be a few unicorns in the world that just get it instantly, savants, that just geniuses that understand these concepts and can instantly apply them. But I think it's a dedicated approach. I think it's understanding that practice and rehearsal are two separate things. I think that every single one of us has natural talent. I think of when I started learning to play ukulele, I didn't think that I had any musical talent at all. And it wasn't until I became fascinated by the instrument that I really started practicing and playing every single day and just really loving it. And I think that's what it takes. So there might be some unicorns, but I do think that all wrapping everything together, the practice, learning, wanting to read, wanting to get in there and get your hands dirty, learning sleight of hand, uh, understanding intention, understanding focus, and understanding relaxation. Those are all very important to becoming a great sleight of hand artist. Now, the best advice I ever received were a couple of points. And over the years, I've been blessed to have friends and mentors that some of them were fantastic sleight of hand artists, like Aaron Fisher, one of my great friends, an amazing sleight of hand artist, spent years just studying sleight of hand. Was quite possibly, one of the best teachers out there of sleight of hand card magic today. Like I said, Eric Jones, Armando Lucero, these guys are fantastic sleight of hand artists. Jack Codell is a name that you may not have heard before, but he was an older magician, developed the very first act entirely of manipulating birds, and his approach to magic and getting different perspectives. Giovanni Lavera, Terry Ward, these guys, Michael Amar, Kostya Kimlet, my friends, so amazing, really deep thinkers. And over the years, I've taken their advice in our conversations and I've applied it to my magic. And that's what I'm about to share with you guys right now. The first major advice with sleight of hand and learning sleight of hand is, in the beginning, slow down. Don't try to go too fast. There is a time for moving fast with sleight of hand. It's like learning chords with an ukulele, right? I can relate magic very similarly to ukulele or to martial arts. I've practiced martial arts as well, or to sports. I used to play volleyball. And in each discipline, you want to learn the techniques slowly, because you really get to appreciate the what you're trying to accomplish. You understand it in greater detail when in the beginning you slow down. Like I said, when you're learning scales, like in music, there's a moment where you want to move fast. You want to get as fast as you can just to train yourself. But that comes later. When you first start out learning sleight of hand, don't try to run through things. Slow down. Be deliberate. Be thoughtful. in your actions and understanding what each thing is trying to accomplish, which brings me to my next point, which is break the action into steps. This was a tip that a friend of mine named Tim Starr, really talented magician years ago, hipped me to, is the idea of half moves when you're performing sleight of hand. But even when you're learning sleight of hand, breaking this sleight down into sections, I think about the classic pass, thinking about it in terms of getting into the sleight, the execution of the sleight, and getting out of the sleight, but also more in detail, getting into the break, bringing the hands together. Vernon always talks about the pass needed to happen almost as the hands touch the deck of cards. When they come together, that's when the pass is happening. Understanding that the bottom packet is moving up and the top packet is moving around almost in a very mechanical way. There's a lot of times when we first start learning the pass, we think that we're dragging that top packet down and around the larger bottom packet, but the action is really pulling the bottom packet up. So I wouldn't have realized that had I not broken the action down into steps. And I learned that little tip from Homer Lewag. Fantastic sleight of hand artist in his own right as well. A really amazing guy. But breaking the action into steps, breaking a sleight down into its individual components is going to help you tremendously in learning sleight of hand. And practice, 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 of course. There's no substitution for practicing. You just have to practice. You have to love to practice. With sleight of hand, you really have to find your love for it. And when you do find that love, practice isn't practice. It's almost like meditation in a sense. You'll pick up a deck of cards and just start practicing sleights nonstop. It's really fantastic. Down there, I just saw that. The last tip here in this section is to rehearse. And rehearsal is very different from practice. Rehearsing is when you're putting all of the elements together. The last couple of weeks we've talked about character development and creating a set or a show and the elements that might go into that. And rehearsing is putting all of that together, taking what you're learning with sleight of hand, taking your technique and applying it to the character, to applying it to the effects that you want to create. So rehearsal is different from practice in a very real way. And there's a secret to rehearsing that a good friend of mine who works cruise ships and is one of the hardest working professionals, a guy named John, he taught me to not only rehearse for things to go well, but rehearse for things to not go right. Because you're working in the real world. You don't know, no matter how much control you have, anything can and will happen. Trust me, it's just an inevitability of the beautiful universe that we live in. Things don't always go perfectly right. Any magician or entertainer, performer that tells you that every single show has gone 100% to what the ideal, it's not true, because there's always something that goes a little awry. The more you practice, the more you rehearse, the more you rehearse for things not to go right, you eliminate slowly over time, you eliminate the possibility for things to go out of your control. You'll be prepared for pretty much everything. By the end of my years at Disney, I had done something like 18,000 shows. I've probably performed over 20,000 shows in my career. But during that time, by the end of my contract, by the end of all my years there, I performed a little over a decade for them in their entertainment division. There really wasn't much that could come at me in the different situations that I performed in for that company that I wasn't prepared for. I had basically seen almost everything. Now, occasionally something would happen, something out of the blue, but uh, I'm trying to think that really in the last couple of years, not much was out of my control unless I was working in a new piece. That's the only time things would really get interesting for me. And I would always try to work in something new, but with the effects and the routines that I've done thousands and thousands of times, I was prepared for almost everything because almost everything had gone wrong at one point or another. It's a beautiful inevitability. So practice and rehearse not just for things to go well, but for things to not go right. Now, another key piece of advice that I learned, and this I learned early on, my mentor, wonderful man by the name of Artie Kidwell, he taught me that magic really happens in the minds of the spectators and not in their hand, and not in your hands, I should say. Sleight of hand is not and shouldn't be ever the focus of magic. I watch a lot of young magicians, especially, and I'm guilty of this, so I'm speaking from experience, that I want sleight of hand to be the focus. I want to show people how clever I am with sleight of hand. And to be honest, that takes away from the magic because you're pulling the magic out of their minds, out of the psychological realm where anything is possible, and you're putting it into the very concrete real world where magic for a lot of people doesn't exist. And I maybe get some people to disagree with me on that, but I really feel that the purpose of sleight of hand is a foundation. It's a tool set for you to be able to accomplish an effect. And if your focus is sleight of hand, your focus is in the wrong spot, right? And this, when I was coming up with this, thinking of this presentation today, I kind of felt a little bit like Morpheus when I was talking about this. And I thought of freeing your mind from the technique. And it reminded me of Bruce Lee as well. Bruce Lee talks about Jeet Kune Do, his form of martial arts is really a way of no way, a form with no form. He talks about, there's a great clip of him called Be Water, and he talks about how water can assume any form. Place water into a pitcher and it becomes the pitcher. Place it into a bowl, it becomes the bowl. In a lake, it becomes the lake. In an ocean, it is the ocean. It assumes the form of a container that it's in, but yet has no form. So I think about sleight of hand in those terms as well, as sleight of hand is the foundation. It's the means that we create the effect. It's the mechanics behind the effect sometimes, but it is not the effect. And when we free our minds from it, that's really when we become artists, and we can begin to play within the mind of our spectator, because you're not locked into, for example, a classic pass only being a control of a card. When you free yourself from that technique, the classic pass can become so much more. So keep that in mind as you're learning sleight of hand, that it can be so much more. And when you really slow down, you break it into steps, you practice and rehearse it, that's when you start to free it. Now, how do you do this, right? How can you, these are great concepts. These are amazing things to think about, but how do you really do this in real world practical applications when you're learning sleight of hand? Well, the first thing is practice while you're occupied doing something else, right? So maybe you like to read. I suggest reading not just magic books. As a performer of magic, read books on other types of entertainment, music, mime, like I said, improv acting, stand-up comedy. Learn all that there is to learn about being in front of people. Read books on filmmaking. Read books on design. understand that what we do as magicians is create experiences. Read books on philosophy, on psychology. I highly recommend the works of Carl Jung, which is spelled Jung, C.G. Jung. Read the books by Joseph Campbell, A Hero with 1,000 Faces, and The Great Hero's Journey. Understanding all of these different concepts will make your experience of performing magic so much more than just the tiny world that we sometimes live in with magic, right? But practice while you're occupied with something else. So maybe you like to watch TV or YouTube, and you like to watch fail videos, one of my favorite things, or Vice News, or Munchies. One of my favorite shows on YouTube is Munchies. Practice your sleights while you're doing something else. And what that does is it moves your mind away from the technique that you're practicing. And again, once you have the basic technique down, that's when this really comes into play. So while you're doing something else, maybe you enjoy writing or painting. So maybe practice classic palming coins, or hiding coins in the Ramsey subtlety while you're painting, or while you're drawing, or while you're writing. Doing something else while you're practicing the sleight moves your mind away from it, because later on when you need to perform this in front of a regular group of people, this is going to really help. The next thing is to switch to your non-dominant hand. Like I was just talking about classic palming coins while you're maybe painting, writing, or drawing. Use your non-dominant hand as well. I try to do this with all of my sleights. I palm in my left as well as my right. I'm traditionally a right-handed person. That's how I tend to do things. But over the years, I have switched to performing some sleights solely in my left hand. So this helps create more neural pathways, opens your mind up to different ways of doing the sleight, and you may even find something really interesting when you switch to your non-dominant hand. Just something natural that comes out while you're practicing a sleight that may revolutionize the sleight for you, and it may create something brand new that you can share with the rest of the community. So I highly recommend switching to your non-dominant hand. It's really good mental practice. And finally, use visualization techniques. And what do I mean by this? Being able to see something in our mind first leads to it becoming real for us. I think about dreams, and when we're in dreams, our brains cannot distinguish. They don't differentiate the experience between it happening in the dream world, not actually you being physically there, and you actually physically being there. So if you're in your dream, you're driving a car in a car chase away from somebody who's trying to get you, that experience in your dream is as real for your brain as if you were actually in that situation. Visualization is a really amazing tool to use. When I played sports, preparing for tournaments, we would have psychology coaches come in, that sports psychologists that would walk us through visualization techniques, because I played basketball, and when you're in a crowded auditorium filled with people screaming and chanting, and you have to sink 2 free throws with 5 seconds left on the clock and your team down by 1, being able to see the ball going through the hoop is a really powerful tool for an athlete to have. And it's proven over and over and over again that these visualization techniques really help. So use it to our advantage as magicians as well. See in your mind what you want to create in the real world. See the effect, see the audience reacting, see how you're going to accomplish this with your sleight of hand, your misdirection. Being able to visualize those things are really, really key. So seek out coaches, seek out people that are practiced in these, and they can lead you through some of these techniques as well. So these are some things that you can do right now to improve your sleight of hand. As well as, like I said before, slow down, practice, 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 break things into steps, and rehearse. And remember, rehearse not for things to just go right, but for things to not go right. Prepare for the worst, because people are gonna see you performing. They're gonna be interested, and I'm telling you, I've had people grab my hands. I've had little kids run up right in the middle of a performance and try to pull things out of, my grip. It's a free for all out there. People can sometimes be crazy, so be prepared. That's what I'm saying. Be prepared, and use these techniques. Practice while you're doing other things. Switching to your non-dominant hand, using visualization techniques is really going to help you out. Now, as always, each week I ask my audience for questions. We get, it varies on how many people are seeing these. Like I said, we're just starting out, and I'm just figuring out how to get the word out. So if you're watching this, help me spread the word. If you go to my website, theversatileperformer.com, you can ask questions there. Any questions that you might have about any aspect of performing, please shoot me a message. You can tweet me, you can Facebook me. When you join these weekly hangouts, I really appreciate it. I like speaking to people. I like sharing what I've learned, and I want to share. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. Each week on Wednesday nights at 7:30, there's a brand new live weekly hangout. Go to theversatileperformer.com, sign up for our email. This week I'm giving away, like I said, one of my favorite effects. It's called Who Wants to Be the Firebug. It's a really cool walk around close up performance piece that I developed years and years and years ago, and it's served me really well over the years. Uses a borrowed quarter. You can shove a pencil or cigarette through it, or a pen. I prefer a pen, and some really cool things happen there. But sign up for our email. You'll get updates. You'll get reminders of the weekly hangouts when they're happening. Engage with me on Twitter. Tweet to me. I'm really excited about being on Twitter. I love tweeting, and I love the conversations that we get started over there. Friends with a lot of magicians and different entertainers. So hook up with me on Twitter, or connect with me on Facebook. You can send me a direct message. Send me a friend request. Tell me that you saw me, that you heard this the webinar, the Google Hangout, and yeah, connect with me. Ask me questions. I'm here to help. So next week, July 8th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how to use our voice to enhance our performances. We'll talk about projecting, talk about varying the volume of your voice, how to get quiet to bring audiences in, to get them more interested, how to get loud to bring emphasis to an effect or a performance. So join me next week. I hope to see you guys there. And remember, follow me through social media. Share this video. In a day or so, it'll be up on the blog, ready for people to view. So hope to see you guys. Take care. All the best. Have a really magical week. Thanks. Oh, and I'm still here. You didn't know I was going to come back. But yeah, guys, listen, tweet me, ask me questions. I'm here to really just help out anybody that I can with magic, with performing, using my experience over the years as a professional entertainer, the tips, the techniques, the tricks, the little inside information, if you were. So I really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks so much. Take care. I will see you guys soon.